and the rapids were pretty challenging. Our guide had traveled the river hundreds of times before and knew exactly where to go and how to approach each rapid. I learned that it's important to know when to paddle, when to coast, and the communication is vital. The mortgage world has become a lot like a whitewater trip. We do mortgages all day, every day. Your mortgage is our priority. If you're looking to move this year, then get the pre-qualification process started with professionals who can help you navigate the mortgage industry. We know when to paddle and when to coast. If you're ready to move, call us at People's Home Equity, 423-591-9801.
People's Home Equity is still closing loans in less than 30 days. Call them now to get pre-qualified. 423-591-9801. 423-591-9801. Call for more details. Terms and conditions may apply. This is not a commitment to lend. NMLS number 66247. Tennessee number 117278136. Georgia number 16020. Georgia Residential Mortgage Licensee. Equal housing lender.
I'm the dude. You know, that or his dudeness, duder, or El Duderino, if you're not into the whole brevity thing.
Cougar Radio 92.7.
Perfectly good example of an artist, a musical artist, that you might not be thinking of. Another has been. Came and played Riverbend several years ago, Peter Frampton. And I learned my lesson about saying things like that. Now, I was a harsh critic of Riverbend, and I'll be going to meet with the folks over there. Good luck and fast healing to Dixie Fuller, Joe Dixie Fuller, who's had his 4th back surgery. I know, since this whole season began in the booking, period that we're in. But Peter Frampton, I got a chance to hang out with him and interview him, and one of the nicest guys that you'll ever meet. And that night, for those of us who were alive in the summer of 1976, when this guy that nobody had ever heard of, nobody knew who Peter Frampton was. He played in Humble Pie. He had a band called Frampton's Camel. But he releases a live double album. And it goes nuts. It becomes one of the greatest selling albums of all time. Nobody had ever heard of him. Nobody knew who he was. So he goes up and he sounds exactly like he used to. All he's missing is the long flowing locks. And voice was perfect. And it was a nostalgia buzz. We danced. We had such a good time. And I'd already learned my lesson then, because I remember just giving merciless hell to Richard Brewer, the man that now had, that Chip Baker now has his job. I've been working with the festival since Chip got here. We arrived at the same time. And it was one of those situations where I was such a harsh critic, and Richard Brewer was in charge at the time, and he was in there, and he had just booked, I think it was it like that funky music, White Boy? No, that's Wild Cherry. The other disco band that they had several hits, and they were all disco-fied, and I was just going, oh man, that's the worst thing. Casey and the Sunshine Band. Worst thing I could possibly imagine. I was going, oh my God. Well, who was dancing his butt off when he was down there that night? Me. And when I danced, I looked not unlike a tall pine sapling in a tornado. An unmanned fire hose. It's not a pretty thing to see.
So like one of those inflatable arm wavy.
Yes. Those things spook me out too. So I probably spook young kids out. I think I do when I'm dancing, but I don't care. I dance like no one is watching, even when I can see that they're plainly watching. But man, this guy's very talented. And I didn't realize. I mean, you knew Joe Walsh used that, whatever that little mouth mic thing is that gets him that sound. And but so did Pink Floyd's David Gilmour constantly. Now, you're listening to Nougat Radio. My name is Jeff Styles. You can call me Jeff Styles. You can call me Hefe, El Hefe, the dude. It doesn't make any difference to me. The phone lines are now open, and we're tweaking this thing as we go. We'll probably get a Facebook Live camera in the other studio. We actually just switched studios, and we do that between the hours of the change of that. But as I was telling you, folks, earlier, that we were probably going to be speaking to Congressman Chuck Fleischmann. Put a couple of calls in today, and I do believe we have the congressman on the line with us now. And Chuck, good morning to you.
Jeff, good morning. Welcome back to Chattanooga Radio. Outstanding to have you back, and greetings from Washington, D.C., sir.
Thank you very much. It is wonderful to be back. I can tell you that. As I got used to not working, but getting used to not getting paid is a totally different world. That's tougher.
I understand. I understand. I understand.
Is there? All right, before I ask any of the questions I have, and I know I don't have you long, but is there anything that is just burning on your mind that you can go ahead and just get off your chest right now before we go anywhere else?
Well, nothing burning per se, but really you are the first media outlet in Chattanooga since we had this talk of the potential government shutdown. I'd like your listeners to know, sadly, what the environment is like up here right now. First of all, I'm getting up every day. I want to thank everyone. I was reelected to a 5th term, and I'm very thankful for that. I'm still serving in the old Congress, if you will, the lame duck 115th Congress.
Sure.
But I will be fortunate enough to be in the 116th. But Jeff, right now, we're faced with a situation where if we don't come to an agreement by the 21st of December, there is the potential for a partial government shutdown. So the environment up here right now is not as convivial as we would like it to be during the holidays. I'll be with the president Saturday night. We're having our congressional dinner at the White House, but it's very tense times, sir.
Well, we all saw as I described it this morning, kind of the snit fit yesterday. The congressman and I have known each other for a long time, well before I was a talk radio host, even, and before he was a congressman. We go way back, and we don't agree on a ton of things politically, but we've always gotten along fairly well. But man, I have to say, when the Democrats put Pelosi back in charge, I mean, the first time they did it, it just, I could not believe it. I could not believe they were going to put somebody so divisive in that position. To do it again, and I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, but I mean, it's just, what is this? It's like Godzilla versus Mothra. I mean, all the time. I mean, it's like we've got, in my imagination, in my mind, we've got two monsters battling it out, Mecha Godzilla, whatever you want to throw out there. And we had an earthquake. I don't know if you've heard this. We had an earthquake down here, one of the biggest we've had.
4.4 in Spring City. I used to represent Ray County in my very first term. I hope everyone is okay in Spring City. I know it was felt throughout Chattanooga and Bradley County, and we actually sit on a major fault in Tennessee, and my gosh, very scary time.
I was thinking that was actually, during the middle of the night that, we know that Trump never sleeps, that he just took that, Chuck Schumer bobblehead doll he had, and he threw it so hard against the wall that we felt it here. But I mean, that was ugly. And that was one of the things I was going to ask you about, was just the general feeling up there. And of course we see Senator Corker leaving and Jeff Flake, whether you like him or not, leaving, and all these people are bailing out of the West Wing, and they're quitting politics, and we're going to end up with just nothing but partisanship on both sides. People who want to run because they want to, just get the attention, I guess.
Hope not. Yes, sir. And believe me, I understand where you're coming from. Let me try to lay out, if you've got some time, a little bit about where I think things are, and maybe a little bit of a positive twist to all this, where it may be going. Because one of the benefits, and I never take it for granted, to being elected for the 5th term, I get up every day. I say I'm going to do what is best for the people, or try to do what is best for the people I represent. Be positive, be civil towards people on both sides. I've built a wonderful relationship, Jeff, with not only people in my own party, but people on the other side of the aisle with whom I disagree with politically most of the time, but I think we'll be able to work with and get things done. One of the things, stepping back and being a little bit more objective as to why I think they are going to reelect Nancy Pelosi, is the way that the two parties are structured. Up here, the Republican Party, my party, has internal term limits on committees. So, for example, I'm actually up to be what we would call the ranking member, the highest Republican on a subcommittee on appropriations in the new Congress. The reason for that is, I wish I could say it was because I was a great member, this and that, all that I believe to be true, but we have term limits. And what that means is, no matter how good or bad you are, you can only stay 3 terms on a subcommittee or a full committee if you're a Republican. And that holds true for the Senate as well. The Democratic Party just takes a different view of that. And I'm not going to be critical of that, but they don't have internal term limits. So someone could theoretically be 30 years on a committee and in leadership and the like. The practical effect of that, Jeff, is that you've got to be loyal to leadership. And basically, if leadership wants to keep you in a position of authority, subcommittee chairman and the like, they will basically be able to do that. So that may play part of the role why they would go back to the same leadership structure, because that leadership structure, rightly or wrongly, rewards that. And we just do not have that to the full extent because of our built-in term limits.
Well, Congressman, I'll tell you this, that things are a little bit different here than what I've been used to back in the old days. I would just cancel whole commercial breaks when we were rolling, but the HAL 9002 Antichrist computer is in charge here. So we got about 4.5 minutes. And I wanted to ask you a question. I don't mean to be ambushing you in any way, shape, or form. You probably saw it coming. Just would love to try to get you to change your mind on the Wilderness Act. I know that the senators finally got it apparently as part of a larger omnibus bill, and I just can't, for the life of me, I can't come up with a good reason not to add those acres at Big Frog and Upper Bald and Slick Rock.
Well, as you know, I opposed both Senator Corker and Senator Alexander on this, and sided with the residents of McMinn, Monroe, and Polk counties who overwhelmingly opposed this. And basically, this is why. I went up there and met with the boar and bear hunters and the citizens up there in areas like Coker Creek. And these are people who really feel that they did not have a voice in Washington. And they sat with me in a room and said, Congressman, would you please stand up? And they viewed this as a federal land grab. And let me give you an example of what actually happened in Polk County.
I will. I'll just insert. I'll insert this. From what I can tell, nothing changes. No new roads, no tearing up old roads. Everybody still gets to hunt and fish, and it really just gives it another layer of protection. The people who use it still get to use it.
And that's exactly what the people of Polk County thought a few years ago. And I'm going to give you a concrete example. I was sitting in my office, and what I've always admired about you, Jeff, is you have always believed in individual rights, whether it came to the Second Amendment, where we agree, and in some other areas where I felt you have been, to your credit, a little bit more libertarian, and I've been a lot more traditionally conservative Republican. But you've always stood up for the individual rights. And let me give you a concrete example. We got a call from folks in Polk County, one of our rural counties right next to Bradley County on the North Carolina border, a very poor county. And they said the Forest Service has gone in there and literally torn up campgrounds and blocked off trails and the like. We didn't believe it. I went and I actually met with U.S. Forest Service personnel. They admitted it. They said, gosh, I'm so sorry. We shouldn't have done it, but we did it. And then went on their merry way. And the people up there do not want the federal government coming in there to take that land over. Now, I will say this. There is part of that land in East Tennessee that is not in my congressional district that is not affected by that ban, if you will. So it is an open question, but it came down, Jeff, to listening to the constituents in that area who were overwhelming, and this was McMinn, Monroe, and Polk counties, who basically said, Congressman, please, you're our voice in Washington, you're our representative, and please oppose that. So there are some people in Chattanooga who feel very strongly, as you do, that they are strong proponents of this, which is one of those things that if it was going to happen like this on Lookout Mountain, I'd have fought it. And if it was going to happen in rural McMinn County, I was going to fight it and stick up for the people.
All right. Well, I tell you what, Congressman, I appreciate you fielding the question. I didn't even really tell you what we were going to talk about. I think you went straight to the first part, which is, my gosh, it just doesn't seem like being inside the Beltway would be any fun at all, if it ever is, here right now in this day and age. We've got to go to a commercial break here in just a little bit. I will say thank you very much for your support during my downtime. And I wish you and your family a very Merry Christmas.
Well, the best to you and your whole family. As you know, we go back a long time. We've been friends a long time. Please reach out to us, because we need to make sure that we get out to the people what's going on. I'm here to listen. I'm here to continue to represent the people the best way I can. And if I may leave you with this one bit of optimism. After our party suffered the loss, I went over and I visited with some of the Democratic leaders, and I congratulated them because, as you know, you remember my dad. He taught me to win like a gentleman and to lose like a gentleman. And even though I prevailed, our party got beaten very badly in the House, not in the Senate, but in the House. And I shook their hand, and basically, this is something I know is near and dear to your heart, environmental issues. I chair the Nuclear Cleanup Caucus. And the Democrats are going to allow me to continue to chair that. And they did that because they said, you've been a gentleman, you've always been civil with us, you've always treated us with respect when you've been in the majority, and we want to do that with you when we're in the majority as well. So there's a little bit of optimism, treating people with respect, even though you don't agree with them all the time or most of the time, and hopefully we can move this country forward. Sir.
Well, all of us pretty much dislike, spent enriched plutonium, uranium, and things like that hanging around. So I think we can all agree on that for sure. And Congressman, thank you so much for talking to us this morning.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it more than you know.
Everybody. Thanks.
And I'll also just jump in real quick and say, People's Home Equity, thank you very much for sponsoring this show. This is Fred the Show this hour, free radio every day. Looking to buy a home, get the process started with my good friends over at People's Home Equity, your local mortgage professionals, chatmortgage.com, 2 T's, chatmortgage.com, NMLS 66247.
I'm the dude, that or his dudeness, duder, or El Duderino, if you're not into the whole brevity thing.
Cougar Radio 92.7. 3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
Chaos at the city council meeting as protesters demanded community oversight of local law enforcement at Tuesday's council meeting. Councilman Erskine Oglesby spoke before the crowd, saying that he was appalled by the video showing the arrest and beating of local rapper Interstate Tax. But before he could finish, the crowd began to chant, "No justice, no peace." Nooga Radio's David Toulis was there.
There are around me maybe 50 or 60 residents of Chattanooga and others who are angry and frustrated.
They're calling it a cover-up. Hamilton County reported a bus broke down on the side of Signal Mountain yesterday, but disgruntled parents say it actually got stuck in the ice, and they had to go out and get their kids off the slick roadway. A Chattanooga police officer is the subject of several rape investigations, some of them under investigation by the FBI. Officer Desmond Logan is on paid leave. Officer Logan has as many as 4 accusers. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7 Action News now.
It's that time of year again for you and your family to create special Christmas memories aboard the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum's iconic North Pole Limited. These magical train rides have been festive family traditions since 1999. During this holiday season, why not bring your family to Grand Junction and enjoy the lights and sparkle aboard the North Pole Limited on an imaginary journey to the North Pole. Along the way, you'll be treated to refreshments, storytelling, Christmas carols, unique gifts, and lighted Christmas displays. And once the train pulls into the North Pole, a special visit from Santa. The 2018 season kicks off on November 17th with both day and nighttime rides through December 29th. To reserve your seats today or for more information, go online to tvrail.com or call 423-894-8028. The Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum would like to wish you and your family a very happy holiday season.
Your home is a constant work in progress. Repaint the walls? Yeah, easy enough. Leaky faucet? There's a video for that. But roof repair? You might want some help. That's where Chattanooga Roofing Contractors come in. They have 3 generations of roofing excellence you can count on. Leave the ladder in the garage. Go to chatroofing.com. That's chatroofing.com for Chattanooga Roofing Contractors, a roofing company you can trust. Man, you sure you know what you're doing?
Yeah, I worked with my dad on his truck all the time. Just one more bolt to go.
Yeah, wrong bolt. Today's truck ain't your daddy's truck. For repairs on today's vehicles, you need AMCO Transmission and Total Car Care of Chattanooga on Lee Highway. Stay on the road, not in the garage. AMCO Transmission on Lee Highway. Get it done the right way. The Thompson Pet way. Yeah, I just put that anywhere.
I'm the dude. You know, that or his dudeness, Duder, or El Duderino, if you're not into the whole brevity thing.
Cougar Radio 92.7.
Very quickly, we do have other folks on hold. If you would like to give us a call, do 800-8949 for the show. Jeff Styles, your host. And just real quick, let me just the Tennessee Wilderness Act that we're talking about. The last time that any land was set aside in such an act from Congress, and that's Congress with a capital C, including the Senate and the House, was 1964, if I'm not mistaken. I'm looking at it here. I mean, no new rules, no roads closed, hunting and fishing allowed, no private land affected, non-mechanized access. Okay, you can walk, you can ride a horse, you can do whatever you want to do. No new development whatsoever. And I know it's Phil Rowe's first congressional district that has a bunch of stuff around Samson Mountain and Big Laurel Branch, but I hope it can be protected one way or the other. Obviously, there's a whole lot of people put a whole lot of time trying to get this act actually finally on the table, and I understand where the Congress was coming from. And he does make a point. You do have to understand the National Forest Service is in the tree business. Trees are a renewable resource, and they might as well just be called the timber industry. I mean, they're not exactly, the strictest environmentalists in the world. So yeah, they do sometimes play rough and run roughshod over folks. We have a caller on the line with us, and I believe hopefully they're still here. Good morning to you. Caller, you with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I wanted to make a few comments. First, it was really great that Congressman Flashman called into your show. It's great to have you back on the air talking about important regional issues like that. And the other comment is that weird voice that you have on the radio drop-ins, that weird like 1940s auto-tune thing. If you actually have that in the studio, you should do an entire show just talking through that thing, because that is just straight up pure nightmare, bad acid trip fuel right there. So if you have that thing in the building, you should always have it on.
I've had that effect in my own ears several times. Actually, yes. You just mentioned why, as a matter of fact. Man, you know what? Every studio is different. Every mic's different. Every set of headphones is different. And you don't ever get used to the sound of your own voice when it comes out of something different. I mean, it actually would bring tears to my eyes. There was like, what? Where's that coming from? When you hear yourself recorded, you go, I don't sound like that, because you're used to hearing it resonate inside your own head. But yeah, play with the voice. I said, where's the balls knob in here? I mean, make me sound bigger and badder,
I don't think it's an option on this board. I don't think they sprung for that option.
The cojones knob?
The cojones knob is not installed.
Thank you, brother. If you could cast your vote right now, though, and I mean, the reason that I brought it up is because it's out there. And they couldn't get anybody to actually get it out there on the floor, and it's part of a larger spending bill. Would you vote for it? Caller?
No. I mean, it's the principle of the thing. I mean, you kind of stick to your guns. I understand compromise and everything, but you just can't keep selling everything down the river just for a compromise. When you're only going to get a quarter of what you want or what you need, and you're giving away everything else, then it's not really a compromise. That's just you being over a barrel and trying to hang on to what little scraps you can.
Yeah, I'm with you. Thank you very much for calling. Thank you for listening. More than you know. And I'll say, in my opinion, in my take on this, essentially, this land is already being used in the manner that it would continue to be used. And everybody that I've talked to, and I know a lot of folks up there, and I've gone deep into those woods. And let me use the analogy. Nobody likes it when they're out there and they're having a pleasant, quiet day in the late spring or early fall, and they're on the lake and they're in a little, alcove area, a little, whatever you want to call them, slough, and there's ospreys flying over, and it's just beautiful, and the wind's blowing, and here comes some jerk with a jet ski. And they come in there, and they're ripping, and they're roaring, and if you're on the water in a kayak or a little john boat, they start doing circles around you and hitting you with wake, and it's not like a, massive buzzing gnat, only the gnat is, weighs several hundred pounds, and it's amplified many thousands of times. How frustrating that is. But you know what? When you're the guy on the jet ski, that's a hell of a lot of fun. It's a blast. And up in the Tellico area, I have a very good friend who lives in about a 60-acre enclave that most people do not know exists. When you go up the Tellico River, it's a pretty good sized river. You'll see people paddling it, fishing it. Then it kind of gets to the point where, anybody who's paddling it is going to have to be pretty darn good because it gets narrow. Then you get to the point where you can't even really paddle anymore. You just see fishermen out there. They get to the point where you can actually step over it, like the Chattahoochee up in, Helen, Georgia. And right when you get to the North Carolina line, the gravel runs out and it becomes dirt. And there's just this little gate over there to the right. And there's about 60 homes. And this guy homesteaded it. And we used to take four-wheelers and dirt bikes, bad dirt bikes. And we took them to places I didn't think you could take a motorcycle to. And all the way to the top of this place, they called it the helicopter pad. And there's a whole, and you'd have to stop there. You couldn't, it was straight up vertical. And my friend, the first time we did this, I was just so full of adrenaline. I was going, this is so much fun. He goes, well, here in about an hour, the rock crawlers will come up here and they'll keep on going. I said, they're going to go past here? Right. I'd have bet $1,000. Now here come these things. Boom, boom. Every individual suspension for the wheels, and massive power. And they're literally crawling up this thing. It was fascinating. It was a subculture. But they did away with that. Now I miss having the fun. But I could see where that messed up the stream bed and everything else around it. I mean, and people came out and they would set up lawn chairs and watch these people blow engines up, and then they'd use their line and they'd jerk themselves out of there, and somebody else would try, and I'm sure that did disturb the people who were up there just trying to fish and have a peaceful time. So I understand both ends. I really do. I still like to go take dirt bike up there, but then just, I just think it needs to be protected. I just don't see anybody losing anything out of this. I really don't. I don't think the Forest Service will be spending their time on this, 75-degree slope that's mostly rock.
Anytime soon.
Anytime soon. We have another caller on the line with us, and good morning to you.
Good morning, Mr. Stiles. This conversation is completely off topic. This is Kevin Muhammad. How you doing?
Hey, Kevin. I'm doing lovely. I'm doing very, very well. I heard your name mentioned yesterday, as a matter of fact. Marie Mott mentioned your name and was talking about your activist background and the folks that were actually getting things done out there as opposed to other organizations who kind of seem to be.
Absolutely, man. I was just calling, man, to say it was good to hear your voice back on radio.
Thank you.
And I'm glad you're back, man.
Me too.
Which is much needed.
Well, thank you very much. And I'll say this. There was a time, I don't even know how old you are, Kevin. We're obviously in the same age bracket.
I'm ageless, man. I'm ageless.
There were people in this town that used to try to get us to be exact opposites and go at each other ideologically. Sure. And I didn't want none of it. I don't think Kevin wanted it. It was silly just setting people at each other. No, I'm so glad to hear your voice again. And I'm telling you, were you down at the meeting last night?
No, I wasn't down at the city council last night, but I'm well aware of the effort that's taking place. And, I'm more of a counselor to the young activists like Marie Mott and some of the other ones that are getting things done. Because, we went through a lot of this ourselves and still involved in it.
Sure.
So it's more like, let's let them do what they do because they're good at doing what they do. And we give them advice and we keep it moving.
Well, everybody needs to find where their niche is. And I used to get so upset at the folks in Chattanooga. And I mentioned this yesterday because it seemed to me like such an excuse to say, well, I don't voice my opinion. I don't go down and protest. I don't try to, because the power structure is not going to let you get anything done anyway. The power structure. And it just seemed like a coward's way out. And I used to, just ask them, what would it take to make you get off the couch and go down there and just raise some hell? And now, of course, I'm looking at Paris and France. I'm beginning to wonder, maybe we can over protest, but obviously, they rattled some cages last night.
Yes, absolutely. City Council actually got up and left. And unfortunately, government is very unresponsive to what the people are saying. And this generation of young people, unlike, some in the past, are just not taking it. They're not with it. And they're going to disrupt, and they're going to be heard. And unfortunately, when you have a government that's you take Mayor Burke, for example, they moved forward with rezoning the Harriet Tubman site.
Yeah, I've been wanting to get to that.
And that was to M1, I believe, and that's completely against what the people want in that area. So when people elect you to office, and then you just do whatever it is that you want to do, and then you're not responsive to what they're telling you, then these young people are saying, look, we saw our parents do it the right way. We saw our grandparents try to do it the right way. You didn't listen to them. So now we're going to do it our way. And that's what they did last night, completely disrupted the meeting, and I support them 100%.
Yeah, I was going to say, I do believe that we've seen this happen more than once. And I will never, ever forget. We got about 2 minutes here, Kevin. I'll just say that my first wife worked for a company that took home healthcare equipment out, and they literally, the corporation, the company would not send in a van into Harriet Tubman homes. And so I actually took a couple of oxygen tanks and just rode them down there in my old Buick Skylark and went in and gave them to this lady. And I was amazed that they actually could draw that line. But it doesn't matter, how dangerous it might have been to some people or how scared they were or how poor it was. Those people were given promises, and we've seen it happen before. And, when they say, we'll find a place for you, and then they go in and tear it down proactively and don't find a place for you, that creates a bigger problem than you can possibly imagine. We're talking about homelessness all the time now.
Absolutely. And we're paying lip service to the homeless here. The mayor unveiled this so-called $10 million plan, but there's no real new money in it. When Mayor Littlefield was in office, they did that big study on the homeless back then, voted down a homeless campus, and it's just a continuous cycle.
I think it was his heart was in the right place. He just couldn't get any support for it. It was NIMBY, not in my backyard.
And I don't understand that in what is called the most churched and Bible-bred city in all of America.
Well,
we can't do the Christian thing to take care of the poor and the homeless like the master told us to do.
I guess maybe we're still in the wandering in the wilderness period.
So look, man, I got some things coming up in January, man. I'll give you a call.
Come on in, man.
I'm on your show. We'll talk about it. I just wanted to give you a call and say I'm glad you're back on the air.
Man, thank you so much, Kevin Muhammad, very much. Okay. Appreciate all you guys listening. Again, we're going to be going to a commercial break here in just a second. The number here, if you'd like to do what Kevin just did, 800-8949. Want to say thank you very much to Tim Kelly and Kelly Subaru. Tim might be my guest in here on Friday. We're going to have somebody in here talking about the Bobby Stone Foundation and this first thing that they're doing is this film series down at the Tivoli. But Kelly Subaru, kellysubaru.com, new Subarus, every kind of high-quality used vehicle you can possibly imagine, service after the sale, Riverfront MLK, and also Robin Ring. Robin Ring got a brand new thing, and it is RC2 Realty Solutions. Go to the website or go straight to the email, info@RC2 Realty Solutions, and basically just get Robin on your side, especially if you're dealing with kind of a stressed out period in your life and you've got a stressed out property. Those two things usually come together. Thank you very much to these people for supporting me now and then and we'll come back and we'll stay on a couple of these topics, and we'll probably throw another 2 or 3 in there.
I'm the dude, you know, that or his dudeness, Duder, or El Duderino, if you're not into the whole brevity thing.
Cougar Radio 92.7. 3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, Digital FM 95.3 HD4, 92.7 FM's news now.
Chaos at the city council meeting as protesters demanded community oversight of local law enforcement at Tuesday's council meeting. Councilman Erskine Oglesby spoke before the crowd, saying that he was appalled by the video showing the arrest and beating of local rapper Interstate Tax. But before he could finish, the crowd began to chant, "No justice, no peace." Nooga Radio's David Toulis was there.
There are around me maybe 50 or 60 residents of Chattanooga and others who are angry and frustrated.
They're calling it a cover-up. Hamilton County reported a bus broke down on the side of Signal Mountain yesterday, but disgruntled parents say it actually got stuck in the ice, and they had to go out and get their kids off the slick roadway. A Chattanooga police officer is the subject of several rape investigations, some of them under investigation by the FBI. Officer Desmond Logan is on paid leave. Officer Logan has as many as 4 accusers. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7 Action News now.
92.7 Nooga Radio.
The rumors are true. We've opened a Starbucks at 10 North, 20 Cherokee Boulevard on the North Shore, and we're more than just what we brew. We're your new North Shore neighborhood living room, a gathering place, a part of your daily routine, with a warm atmosphere, a spacious patio, convenient complimentary parking, and a full Starbucks food and beverage menu, including the new Nitro Cold Brew. We're a coffee experience, and we make sure everything we do is through the lens of community and contributing value to our vibrant neighborhood. Open daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. We look forward to serving you. Starbucks North Shore, inspiring and nurturing the human spirit, one person, one cup, and one neighborhood at a time. Starbucks at 10 North on the North Shore, locally owned and operated by Vision Hospitality Group.
I'm the dude, you know, that or his dudeness, Duder, or El Duderino, if you're not into the whole brevity thing.
Cougar Radio 92.7.
Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com, the website. Go there and get streaming audio, Facebooking live. I Facebook people. I'm really not used to being on camera. I'm trying to ignore you, but you can always call or send in little comments, especially if they're positive. If they're negative, I'll totally ignore them. You can find us at YouTube, and we've got an app, we've got all that cool stuff. My name is Jeff Stiles, and we appreciate you listening this morning. And have another caller on. I just want to say real fast, I overspoke during the last hour, and I said the word earthquake, and then we went right into a commercial break. I was going to talk about the fact that we are on, and the Congressman Chuck Fleischman earlier in this hour mentioned we're on in the New Madrid seismic zone. And for those of you who don't know, one of the greatest, biggest, most powerful earthquakes that ever occurred in North America actually happened pretty much right over there in West Tennessee. And the Mississippi River ran backwards and created Reelfoot Lake. It's going to go one day. And when it goes, we're going to be so freaked out. We're used to tornadoes. We're used to black ice. We're used to locusts and frogs and other, rainbows and unicorns. We're not used to a major earthquake. This one this morning was a 4.4. And, you could feel it, but it didn't do any damage. We get us an 8.9. I mean, there's going to be things coming down. We're not constructed for it.
I didn't even know it happened. I woke up this morning, looked at Facebook, and a friend of mine said, it concerned him that it was so close to Watts Bar.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, maybe it's just, someone blew up a meth lab in 10 Mile. I don't know.
Russell said that the reactors were built to withstand a direct nuclear hit. You know what? If we get a direct nuclear hit on one of those reactors, I'm not really concerned about whether the reactor survives or not. I think we've got other things on our on our plate. I don't think that the meltdown is going to be our first concern at that point. I'm going to have to go out. I can see Sequoia when I'm coming, away from my home up on the mountain down into the valley, and I'm just going to go make sure that the wind's blowing the right direction before I go into the cave. All right, we got a caller on the line here, and Steve, I think. Good morning to you. What's up?
Good. I finally got on. It's been busy. You guys got a good show.
Thank you.
A couple things. You know, I've been listening to the city council meeting about that rapper that got beat up by the police and stuff. I think the bigger picture on trying to get something done is people's got to come together. People, I noticed in that video that they had last night, the big question that I've got is, why was this all addressed as like my people and we? You know, the whole city's got to come together to fix this problem. It's not just Chattanooga that this happens in. This is happening all over the country.
Clearly,
and it's law. It's laws and it's policies that is allowing this to go on.
It's gotten worse.
And the people, pardon me?
I said, and it's gotten worse. I mean, because of the proliferation of cell phones with cameras and video and you know, then you get situations where sometimes the police are in a very tense situation and they'll even, you know, go after the person taking the video. And that's, I mean, completely unconstitutional as far as I'm concerned. But you can understand where they're coming from. And then look, some people get so mad when they see these videos. Then you go out and they start capping cops sitting in their cars. They're just doing nothing except drinking coffee, and they're literally assassinating them. So I mean, this has got to be dialed back.
Well, the only way we're going to fix this is people have got to start understanding how government is supposed to work to start with. People don't realize who the leaders are. We, the people, are the leaders. They work for us. So when the people decide to figure out how to redress their grievances, as is guaranteed to us, you've got to all pull together. You can't go to a city council meeting and disrupt it so bad that the council people leave. You can't get nothing done that way.
Well, that ended the business for that night. Yeah, that definitely.
Go ahead, I apologize.
I said that ended whatever business was going to take place on that particular evening. That's for sure.
So people have got to educate themselves on what the government's job is. People have got to be united. It's not us and it's not them. It's we. We've got to be all together. The color is no matter here, because everybody, every race, Latino, white, black, Asian, are going through these kind of abuses. And the only way it's going to change it is you've got to change policies. You've got to change the laws. You can't accept, you can't have a police officer out there arresting somebody because they were fighting with somebody, and then turn around and condone a police officer beating somebody.
I want to tell you something. The gentleman that called in just a minute ago, Kevin Muhammad, we talked about doing this, and then I actually talked to a couple of the local TV stations, and I was going to say, first of all, you've made a very, very good point that a former minister of mine, a wonderful woman named Melanie Morrell Sullivan, she got up and did this impassioned message one day about we have got to quit saying us and them, because it's always we. Some of us are gay. Some of us are black. Some of us are being abused. Some of us are taking advantage of the system. Some of us are doing the right thing, doing the wrong thing. It's all us. And I love that idea and that concept, and you threw it out there. But I was going to throw, you know what, being a long-haired good old boy out in rural country, you know, puts you on a list as well. And I was going to actually get Kevin, if he was, I think, willing to do it, and get a TV station to maybe follow us in a van and let him drive my old whoopty car. And I'd be leaning out the side, and we'd go through some black neighborhoods, see how fast we get pulled over, because why am I leaning out of a hoopty car in this black neighborhood? And then we'd switch and we'd go up to Signal Mountain or one of the other really nice Tony neighborhoods and see how fast we got pulled over, and see which profiling group, was more affected, I guess.
Well, I'll give you this example. I was in a housing project that for predominantly black. Okay, I'm a white guy. I drive through here because I was dropping some stuff off for some people. I left and I was followed by the police. I got pulled over.
Sure.
It happened to be a black cop. He asked me what I was doing out there. This is the truth. This is the truth. He asked me what I was doing out there. And I says, am I not supposed to be out here? He says, it's just funny that I see you out here being white.
Yes.
Okay, wait a minute here. You know, this is what we're being indoctrinated to think. All this media stuff, all this garbage that we see on TV, you know, people sit here and start believing this stuff, and then the division is just, why am I out in a predominantly black? Okay.
You had business there. You had a friend you were going to see. There was a barbecue. Yeah. I mean, it could be any number of things. Hey, you might have gotten lost. I mean, who knows? And I grant you that, yeah, certainly people on the, you know, again, many of us who are black and will sometimes find themselves as the sun's going down on a particular high elevation point around here, you know, they're going to start getting jumpy. They know exactly what's coming. Probably trouble. And we have to be realistic, but that sort of thing has to change. That has to change individually. But the things that we can do as a group, as a group, as humanity, yes.
That's what I was getting at is, you know, we're going to, in my town here, we're being taxed all to hell. We've had shootings here that involve the police and blacks. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, well, because his color. But see, I've got black people that I talk to that say, oh, yeah, well, it's just a black guy, so you're just going to figure because he's black, it means nothing. And I go, you're assuming. You're assuming that I'm going to think that. Well, you're wrong. You know, we've got to quit watching the media. We've got to quit being brainwashed.
Just don't swallow it hook, line, and sinker. I mean, especially if you know better. I'm going to say thank you very much for calling, and thank you very much for listening.
Okay.
And I'm going to say that Charles Tony, the guy that is in that video, and you have to understand that this is not even, the video itself is not even the least bit inflammatory compared to some we've seen. You know, I know what the rules are. I have a right to carry a permit. And when somebody is moving away from me, they are no longer a threat to me. If I shoot them in the back, if I shoot them from, 3 feet away or 30 feet away while they're moving away from me, I'm going to be in trouble. We've seen that happen with a couple of police officers. Sometimes they're punished. Sometimes they're not. The beatings that happen when somebody's already in handcuffs, me and another fellow host got into it just really, I mean, got into it hard one day, and he would see the same video I was seeing, and he said that he didn't think there was anything wrong with that. The guy was literally laying on the pavement in front of these gas pumps, and people were just wailing on him. And at the same time, if you fight against a police officer, I don't care whether they've got the cuffs on you or if they don't, if you start headbutting, if you start trying to kick and bite, you're going to lose. You're going to lose every single time. And just because you got a head full of anger at the system or whatever inequities are out there and you think you've been profiled, your hands still need to be at 10 and 2 on the steering wheel. You need to cooperate as best you can. Your chances are going to be a hell of a lot better if you do. Now, I've been there. I've been there and I've cooperated. I've been treated well and let off sometimes by law enforcement, more times than I've been messed with, but I have been messed with. I wasn't joking yesterday when I said I've been on the receiving end, the wrong end of those big black flashlights a couple of times. It's no fun. I've been the guy that they say, watch your head, boom, watch your head on the way in. And I have been that guy. And having handcuffs on sucks, man. Hearing that door clang behind you sucks. But I mean, they can't abuse the color of their uniform and the power that they have. And people cannot just immediately assume that they're the bad guys. I wasn't all that, pumped up about the SRO program in the beginning. But I got to know the folks that were doing it at my kid's school, and I realized that was a great place to start interfacing with law enforcement officers. And young men especially need to learn how to interface with law enforcement officers, because if you're a 16-year-old kid, 17-year-old kid, and you're driving, you're going to get pulled over at some point. You need to know how to act. I remember, I guess, local attorney Jerry Summers had these little cards he'd hand out that said, here's what you do. Do these things. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to just go just lay down and just give up your rights. But I mean, you got to act right. And Charles Toney, well, I mentioned earlier this morning, a pretty extensive criminal record. Hey, a lot of us have criminal records. It doesn't excuse something that's going on in the here and now. It may come into play later in court. I don't know if there's any still outstanding things out there, but just because somebody has had run-ins with the law in the past, say, I think Jesus had some run-ins with the law, right? And Dr. King had some run-ins. I mean, you're in good company if you have a criminal record, actually. That's Nelson Mandela. These are the kind of things that we can talk about tomorrow and the next day, every Monday through Friday, 8 to 10. For right now, Fred the Show. Donna Christian Lowe coming up. And Dr. Gary Gisaldi?
Close enough. I think it's right.
Dr.
Actually.
Gary with Affordable Fillers. Dr. Gary with Affordable Fillers is going to be in. And of course, Marie was down there last night. Marie Mott, she comes on at 11. David Toulis was down there. He comes on at 1. Thank you again to People's Home Equity. Looking to buy a home, get the process started with my good friends at People's Home Equity, your local mortgage professionals. Chatmortgage.com, chat2tsmortgage.com, NMLS 66247. Appreciate them sponsoring this show. And I did mention the protests in France. President Macron, I just love saying that. Emmanuel Macron said $11 billion so far is what they've had to spend on the protests. That's money that could be spent elsewhere. Let's don't go there. Quite that.
I'm the dude, that or his dudeness, Duder, or El Duderino, if you're not into the whole brevity thing.
Cougar Radio 92.7.
Are you looking to buy a home? You go online and search, or you ride through the areas you want to move to, looking for time stands still when you see it. You know, that home. But you spend all that time. You build up all that excitement to find out that you only qualify for... Maybe you have a few things on your credit that keeps you from things that you could take care of. You know what you should do. Call the mortgage professionals at People's Home Equity. They specialize in... They help home buyers go from... to... People's Home Equity is a great place to start the home buying process. 591-9801. You need more than less. People's Home Equity, 591-9801.
Call for more details. Terms and conditions may apply. This is not a commitment to lend. NMLS number 66247. Tennessee number 117278136. Georgia number 16020. Georgia Residential Mortgage Licensee. Equal housing.
Nuga Radio 92.7's First Responder Friday.
If you would like to nominate a first responder for First Responder Friday, email nugaradio@gmail.com. Nugaradio@gmail.com.
Nuga Radio 92.7's First Responder Friday.
Man, you sure you know what you're doing?
Yeah, I worked with my dad on his truck all the time. Just one more bolt to go.
Yeah, wrong bolt. Today's truck ain't your daddy's truck. For repairs on today's vehicles, you need AMCO Transmission and Total Car Care of Chattanooga on Lee Highway. Stay on the road, not in the garage. AMCO Transmission on Lee Highway. Get it done the right way. The Thompson Pet way. Yeah, I just put that anyway. Hello.
Get back there, you dang Yankee! Great horny toads, I'm up north!
WPLZ HD4 Ottawa. W224AZ Chattanooga.
Serving Chattanooga!
Broadcasting live from the center of the universe, the Tennessee Valley's most listened to news talk station.
Cougar Radio 92.7.
This is CBS News on the Hour, presented by Liberty Mutual Insurance.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. It's sentencing day for Michael Cohen, the president's former personal attorney. Correspondent Paula Reed is at federal court in Manhattan.
He will have the chance to address the court, and he is expected to use that opportunity to apologize first to his family, including his father, who is a Holocaust survivor, and then he is expected to denounce President Trump and apologize to the American people for his participation in crimes that occurred before the election.
Cohen pleaded guilty to tax evasion, making illegal hush money payments on the president's behalf during the campaign, and lying to Congress. Police in France are still searching for the gunman who opened fire and killed at least 2 people at a Christmas market in Strasbourg. They say the suspect is a 29-year-old man who lives in the city. CBS's Roxana Sabiri.
He was also on a terror watch list for possible extremist ties. So the manhunt is continuing with heightened police presence around the country.
There's a report the suspect's mother, father, and 2 brothers are being questioned. British Prime Minister Theresa May faces a no-confidence vote from her own party today over Brexit. Live to London and CBS's Vicky Barker.
British Chancellor Philip Hammond has said he's confident his boss will keep her job, and listen to how he put that.
What this vote today will do is flush out the extremists who are trying to advance a particular agenda which would really not be in the interests of the British people or the British economy.
A coded threat to would-be rebels, but it's a secret ballot. The question really is whether Conservatives think anyone else in their ranks will do better handling the poisoned chalice that is Brexit. Deborah?
Doctors who treated U.S. diplomats injured in a mysterious sonic attack in Havana are about to release a report on their findings, and it's not without controversy. CBS's Steve Dorsey is in Miami.
As a team of doctors at the University of Miami plan to release their clinical findings, they face new criticism of their initial treatment of the Americans injured in Cuba. Attorney Mark Zaid represents 8 of them.
They were questioned about their injuries and whether it was real or in their mind.
At the University of Miami.
At the University of Miami.
The State Department apparently cut ties with the medical team, seeking out experts at the University of Pennsylvania instead.
The movie dinosaurs will never go extinct.
To Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park is among 25 films that'll be preserved by the